Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's Dr. Shirley Rudd with Sustaining the Heart of Advocacy, the Power of Wellness. Posted the week 3 lecture this morning and wanted to come on to have some discussion about the good morning, Queen. Wanted to come on to have some more discussion about the lecture and have some other discussion about the differences really between compassion fatigue and secondary trauma. Because when you look at the kind of the definitions from the 2 lectures, hello Rhonda, you might see some overlap of the information, and like that sounds just like compassion fatigue. How do I know if I have one versus the other? And so wanted to know that we're going to talk about that today, and just really doing some check-ins to see how people are doing. What questions do you have? How is your wellness mapping going? Have you done it? Tell me about it. Hi, Bold Beauty. Thanks for joining. How is the wellness mapping going? Remember, with the wellness mapping, it is not something that once you do it, it's like a done deal. You can go back and you can, hi Maggie, thanks for joining. Hi Lex, the creator, thanks for joining. And so it is something that you can change over time. And so I don't want you to feel like if you get stuck in it, that you can't go back and modify it. I want to be able to, I want to be able to talk more about the mindful mapping. And I have my example. Let me get my example out so that we can talk about it more. Hi, Raycon, how are you? Thanks for joining. So when it comes to our mindful mapping, hi, Peter. Hi, user 404. Hi, Ainsy. Is that how you say that? Hi, I love cats. Thanks for joining, everybody. I'm so glad to have you here today. Oh, I'm doing well. My cold is getting a little bit better, so I'm feeling better. I have more energy. Still a little congested, but life is getting good. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of those puffy hearts. Love it. Thank you. Hi, Abdallah. How are you doing today? Okay, so let's talk about this mindful mapping. Do you remember I posted this sample on my page? And I want to go through and talk a little bit more, because I haven't seen a lot of you tell me you're doing it. Some of you have. I've also heard that for whatever reason I may not be showing on people's FYP, and I don't know what to say about that. Watch my videos all the way through is one suggestion I've heard. The other thing is making sure you're commenting and liking my video, you're reposting my videos. That will keep me on your FYP page. And so that might be a great way to do it. Hi, Amber. Thanks for joining. So let's talk about kind of what we're going to be doing here with the I'm gonna wait for more people to come on before we dive into the lecture for today. Oh, good to see you too, Amber. So let's talk about the mindful mapping. And the first area on the life dimensions here is the physical health. Okay, so with this mindful mapping, you are going to state your current, or put your current state. One being you're not doing well in this area at all, and 10 being I am fantastic in this area and I am doing everything that I can to do it, and I'm rocking the charts with it. Okay, so that is the one area that you do there. Then based on that, you're going to then do your goal. Okay, so one of the things I have on this sample, which is really one of the things I do on a regular basis, is I maintain, thank you for all those hearts, thank you guys. Hey Buck Norris, how's it going? Thanks for joining. One of the things that I have is to do some regular exercising and to increase, hi TK, to increase and maintain my protein amount. So when it comes to increased regular exercise, now mind you, I don't go to the gym every day. I actually don't go to the gym at all. Truth be told, like that's not me. Thank you, TK, for that gift. One of the things that I always like to do is be able to get a walk in. Walking clears my mind. Sometimes with the weather here in Colorado, I can walk outside, or there are other times where I have to walk indoors, but I have a gym that's right next to my building. And here in my office here at home, I have a walking pad that I can walk on to keep myself active. Okay. Now, when it comes to having increased proteins, that is me making just smarter choices when it comes to my food. Protein is what gives me that energy and allows me to be able to go and do those walks when I need to. Okay. Thank you for the hearts. Keep them coming. Hey, JC. Hey, J Mills. Thanks for joining. So glad to have you guys here today. We're talking about wellness mapping, and wanted to make sure that, I'm able to answer any of your questions as it relates to wellness mapping. Okay. So then the next thing, when it comes to you set your goal for the wellness mapping, the next thing is what actions am I going to take? And so for this physical health one, I know I want to exercise regularly. I know I want to increase my proteins. And one action step for me to maintain those things is for me to track my water intake. Water is so important when it comes to how we eat and how we have the energy. Hi, JC. Thanks for joining. Thanks for liking the live. Share the live, guys. Let's get as many people on here as possible so we can have some great discussion today. So the other piece, hi. Oh, that one went too fast. I didn't get to say hi. Zerdo, is that how you say that? The other thing with the water tracking, I mentioned this to you guys before, that I am not necessarily one that can do a big water bottle, because I get overwhelmed with having to drink it and then I end up not drinking at all. But if I have a 16-ounce water bottle, I can get that down, and then I can get the next one down, and I'm like 16 plus 16 is 32. I am rocking this. I'm halfway through my day in my goal of 64 ounces a day at a minimum. That's a minimum amount. Okay, so that is something that I do. The other thing that's next on this is, you guys see the support. So a workout partner. I want to do something physical. What do I do at work? I can ask people, hey, do you want to join me on a walk? Let's keep going. Can you walk with me later? I'm going to go on a walk. If they can't go on a walk with me, I'm not going to be like, oh, I guess I can't go on a walk either. What I am going to do is say, okay, I'll see you when I get back, because you're my accountability partner and I'm going to go do this whether you're available to go with me or not. That is what those support people look like when it comes to this mindful mapping. Okay. Hi, Tie-Dye. Welcome. So glad that you're here. And so then for this physical one, I'm going to be doing that one for just kind of monitoring that for 3 months. And then I'll go back and I'll change. Maybe I won't change my goal, but maybe I'll change my action step. maybe that'll be something that I will want to change. But it's gonna be based on me. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on kind of a figuring out a goal for physical health when it comes to your mindful mapping? Tell me about it. What kind of questions do you guys have? What kind of ideas do you have for putting down on your wellness map for a goal for you for physical health? What do you think? Like, I got my mental health matters mug today. Definitely matters, guys. We got to take care of ourselves. That's the most important piece to our overall well-being. What kind of questions? If you don't have any questions, give me some hearts. Give me some acknowledgement that you're hearing me and you understand what I'm talking about. Physical health is hard because I don't want to push myself first. Hi, Goldie. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining. Hi, Jackie Daytona. Thanks for joining. Tie-dye, you are right. That physical health is hard, but I want you to think about how simplistic I just made this. I did an overall general exercise regularly and increase my protein. But my action step for that was to stay hydrated. So I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I got to go to the gym. If I say I'm going to say I'm going to exercise, that means I'm going to go to the gym. No, I don't go to the gym. I will walk. I can do that outside. I can do that at a gym that's next to my building, but I prefer to walk outside. I can do my walking pad that I have here in my house. I can walk up and down my stairs. I can lift canned foods in my refrigerator from my cabinets, or lift gallons of milk from my refrigerator. There are lots of things that you can do for physical health that are outside of the norm. TK says, bring in my food so I'm not scrambling to buy lunch that might not be that most healthy. Yes. Packing. So I am notoriously bad. I'm gonna be very vulnerable with you guys today. I am notoriously bad at packing a lunch. I try to pack any leftovers I have the night before to be able to take the next day, but it's remembering to bring those things. Okay. So when you do feel like you're scrambling, you do grab things that maybe aren't the healthiest choices. If you are at work and it's like, okay, now what am I going to go get? We're probably not choosing the best choices. Some things that I tend to keep in my office, so that I have those things that are maybe more health conscious, is I will have some protein bars. I will have some of the fruit packets that are in like natural juice. I will have like tuna packets. I will have chicken packets. So those maybe are shelf stable things, but they're a healthier choice. But TK, I understand that completely because it is hard. Let's see. JC, so you think mapping it out is easy, doing it is the hardest. JC, you are spot on. Putting it on this piece of paper right here is a easy thing. It's following it. Okay? This is what I want to encourage you to do. Out of sight, out of mind makes it worse. So, if I've done my wellness mapping, what I am going to do is maybe for each one of these elements, I am going to put something someplace. I've talked before about using a dry erase marker and going to a mirror and writing something that you want to make sure that you're mindful of, something that you're always paying attention to. So when it comes to maybe this physical health, maybe I have a exam room as my office and my day job, and on that mirror I can put with a dry erase marker, when are you walking? Walk 10 minutes today, walk 15 minutes a day, and that's reminding me of my wellness mapping. The other thing, let me pick a different one on here. The other thing on here is spiritual growth. So for my spiritual growth, spirituality is very different for everyone, to include me. I don't have a home church. I am spiritual though. I am a Christian. And I have a belief that I don't necessarily have to go to a brick and mortar to be able to have my faith. And so what I have done for my ongoing spiritual growth is to practice daily meditation. that is identifying what my needs are internally and being able to best support myself. And so that is something I can write in my bathroom. I can write it on the side of my bed. If I had a dry erase board, that is something that I can share with other people so they can remind me, hey, how's your daily meditation going? That's my accountability partners. So I want you to think outside of the box, JC, when it comes to how do you not only write this down, but how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you allow other people to hold you accountable? And let's do this together. I have mentioned I am more than willing to be an accountability buddy for you. I love being tagged in the post and having you guys post on the self-care challenge. Like, that tells me, hey, they want Dr. Shirley to know what they're doing. I want to be here to support you. I want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And sometimes having somebody give you kudos for doing it, somebody saying good job, and yep, that is self-care. That is what we want, and that is what I want to provide to you guys, okay? Okay, let me get back to these messages. TK, I'm not sure what part you were mentioning, but that's okay. We'll come back. Hi Steve, thanks for joining. Let's see, tie-dye. I remember to feed my 1-year-old and my husband, and I do forget to feed myself. Yeah. Yep. This is the crazy part when it comes to us being caregivers. We do a really good job in making sure we do our best to meet the needs of other people, but we forget to meet our own needs. So this is what I want you to do, tie-dye. I want you, when you're feeding them, I need you to make your plate too. I need you to make your plate, and I need you to sit your butt down, and I need you to eat with them. That's what I need you to do. If you're not hungry, I still need you to sit in that space, because more likely than not, you're going to hydrate or you're going to nibble. That is nourishing your body, your soul, and your mind by not only being in that space with them, knowing that you've met their needs, but also meeting your needs at the same time. Yes, Amber, just as important. Yes, thank you. TK, is there a length of time for walking more important than the number of steps? I don't go by the number of steps, to be honest with you. I'm not a nutritionist. I can only tell you what I do. I go kind of how my clarity is going. And so what I will do is, so I always track on my watch. So my watch is tracking whether I am not. I have a pretty consistent pattern that I walk when I walk outside at work. And in some ways, I already know how much that's going to give me when it comes to steps and when it comes to miles, okay? And so what I will say is I want you to focus on clarity. If you're feeling like your mind is clouded, if you're feeling like your thoughts are not clear, I want you to focus on that versus the number of steps, because that's more important. And I say that because let's say that it's cold outside and I'm not going to go anywhere to walk. I'm not going to walk outside. But I have decided that I'm going to walk on my walking pad. I am going to do that until I get clarity. I'm not trying to exhaust myself. I could decide I'm going to do a set of stairs. I'm going to go up and down my stairs 4 times. See how I'm feeling after 4 times and go from there. I want you to pay attention to your body. When we get stuck to, I need to make sure that I'm doing so many miles and that I'm doing so much, that it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging for success. And so you may want to do something different. And that's what I don't want you to get stuck on. So I would say don't worry about the steps. Worry about kind of how your clarity is, okay? Oh, JC, I am glad that you are are liking these ideas. Really, this is our community to be able to talk about wellness, to be able to come together and share. I may be an expert as far as a clinical social worker, but I learn from you guys just the same that I hope that you will learn from me. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's talk about, so stay curious. You're guilty of some of these things? Amber, that's so much work for her. Can your husband take on dinner once a week? Amber, I think that that is an ideal thing. We always have to look at what are our household roles. If in her household, she is the primary person to make dinner, that may be a shift that she, one, may not want to be giving up. That's a possibility, right? The other thing is, what does that look like for you? I'm tie-dye on if you want to give that up, okay? I also think that spreading out things is a good conversation. So if you are feeling like, I really want to have a day every week where maybe I'm not responsible for dinner, is that something you're willing to take on? What day looks better for you? You're having open discussion. I will tell you, in my household, I am the primary person that does meals. My husband and I both work during the day. There was a time when I was raising my kids that I was in that role, and even when I went back to work, it naturally maintained my role. There are some days that I would prefer not to do it, but it is my to-go-to, right? Part of me is, I like routine, I like consistency, I like predictability, all right? And so with me, like yesterday, my husband will more likely than not at 5:30 say, what are we having for dinner? Or what do you want for dinner? That's not the way my mind works. So on a Saturday when I am at home, at noon, I already know what I'm making. I've already started cooking it probably by 3:30 and 4. So that way by 5:30, everything is ready and we can eat. Because I know how his stomach works. I'm not one to do that. But Amber, I do think that that is a great idea and great suggestion. I'm not feeding myself. Okay, I'm going back and I'm looking at the comments. Hi, Antoinette. Thanks for joining. So glad that you're here. So glad you're here. Hi, Zimmy. Thanks for joining. So I want to make sure that, what I just shared, tie-dye, does that make sense to you about figuring out if that's something you want to do and how you can incorporate getting support if baking dinner is not something you want to do on a regular basis, or being able, hi, Lupus Chick, so glad you're here. Let's see. Thank you, Lupus Chick, for coming. I thought we weren't having class. No, we were still having class. I posted the lecture, and we're gonna always have the lecture posted on Sundays, and I will always do a live on Sundays to be able to have a discussion. So that's always gonna be. I didn't get a chance to do another live this week, just with kind of recovering. So yes, ma'am, that makes sense. I feel guilty as a stay-at-home mom and my husband works. See, that is, I share that is kind of the role that I had, and normalizing, my role as being a mom that stays at home, that it's important to kind of feel like we have balance. Now, I want you to know that doesn't mean you don't have to say, hey, there's something I want to be able to do on this day and this time. Can you take over the parenting so that I can do this? Even if you're not leaving the house, right? Because we need to be able to do self-care in our house. If we think we always have to leave the house to take care of ourselves, then we're never going to do it. What questions do you guys have for me about that? Give me some hearts if you have any. If all of this is resonating with you, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how you're feeling. Hi, Grace. Thanks for joining. Yes, tie-dye, yes. I love that you were able to come to class and you're able to get that support. That is fantastic. Stay-at-home moms do the most. Yes, we do. I mean, I'm not a stay-at-home mom anymore. I'm a working mom, but it felt like, we manage everything. We're the chefs. We're the repair people. We're the daycare people. We're the entertainers. We're the organizers. We are everything to everyone, even when we don't want to be. And often we forget to take care of ourselves because of that. Does this resonate with anybody? I know that it does for me. And I will say, even as a working mom now, it still resonates with me because the roles that I had as a stay-at-home mom, although I am back at work, I still have those same roles. Hi, Veronica. Thanks for joining. So glad that you're here. Good, tie-dye. I want you to know you have a supportive community here, and we want to make sure you're supported while also understanding that you have roles that you have identified in your household, whether traditional or not. Yes, superheroes. That is exactly it. All right, let's talk. Does anybody have a certain area on the mindful mapping that you want to be able to ask questions about? I've already talked about kind of the physical health. I've talked about I didn't finish talking about, so I did spiritual growth and I talked about daily meditation. And so for me, the action steps is doing at least 10 minutes of daily meditation. And I use the Calm app for that, which is really helpful for me because it's already there and all I have to do is press play. So that's good. And I'm gonna do that daily for a month. Okay. Other areas that are on the life dimensions, we have emotional well-being, we have mental health, we have social connections, we have financial stability, we have career satisfaction, and environmental comfort. Oh, Antoinette, I was just talking about how I use the Calm app to be able to do my daily meditation. I don't know. Let me see if my insurance company recommended the Calm app. So I don't know let me see if there's any fees associated with it. Hey, Vanessa. Look at my beautiful niece, Vanessa, joining my live. We're talking about wellness and mindful mapping today, Vanessa. I hope you're doing yours because I know you got plans for your life, and sometimes doing the wellness mapping is what you need. Look at her. Okay. So you can, it says when I download or I look on Calm, it says that you can try it for free. And so if that is, hi, Ivonskis, if you want to try the Calm app, I find it really beneficial. And I think it is just a great way to just be in connection with myself. Some of the things that it says on here, it says to stress less, to sleep more, and to live mindfully. There are different things. Sometimes they have where you can have stories that are read to you. They have that there's things for sleep, there's things for sleep anxiety, there's things for mindfulness. I actually use the calm sleep music at night when I'm sleeping. It just gives me a very calm environment to be able to maintain my peace as I'm sleeping. Okay, thank you guys for all those gifts. Appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the material today. That is coming up. Let's see. I'm gonna set a new goal for myself. Let's see. How about we do some hearts? Some roses. Sorry about that. All right. So I got a pin to have a rose on there. Let's see. Can you guys help me achieve that goal? So what questions? Hi, Anita Bing. Thanks for joining. What questions do you have about this mindful mapping? Again, I posted the blank one on my page. Oh, TK, thank you. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. I love it. So the mindful mapping, posted a blank one, and I also posted this sample because I don't want you guys to get stuck. Okay, what questions do you have about this? Thanks for all the likes, guys. I appreciate you. What questions do you have? Share the live so we can get more people on. I think that is going to be beneficial to keep us going. What other things are you guys, what other things do you want to put another one up since TA got me all hooked up with those roses? I'll put another goal up there for myself. Stay curious. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. What other questions about the mindful mapping do you guys have? If not, we're going to move and go right ahead into looking at I'm talking about our lecture for today. Okay? So today's lecture that I posted earlier was about understanding the emotional impact on managing exposure to traumatic stories. All right? A lot of people will say, I don't even know what that means. I'm not exposed to traumatic stories. You don't realize you are until you start thinking about situations. Hold on one second. Let me pull up So there is a difference between the compassion fatigue and secondary trauma. Although there may be some overlapping, there are a difference. Let me see, Goldie, if you have any ailments, disabilities, and are still having the role of caretaker, what are ways in which you can create more space when it seems impossible? I think that is a great question. I have secondary hand trauma from work regularly. It's messy. Yes, my fear of abandonment rules my life without knowing it. Amber, that's some great self-awareness, because until we understand the root of what's ruling our lives, it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to acknowledge that. So I don't know if anybody has questions about what's the difference between compassion fatigue and secondary trauma. I provided you the definitions with both. So let me just do a summary of it, because often we think, well, they read exactly the same. How are we going to do this? So compassion fatigue, that's the emotional and physical exhaustion that comes from prolonged exposure. And then secondary trauma is the distress when an individual is indirectly exposed. Okay? So has anybody ever on the live seen anyone who has been victimized? Hi, Valerie. Thanks for joining. Been victimized. Hi, Jewel. Thanks for joining. When I say victimized, I mean someone that's been robbed. I mean someone that's been hit by a car. You witnessing someone like a fatal car accident. All of those things can bring on the secondary trauma. Okay? The difference between the secondary trauma and you having the compassion fatigue is when you are witnessing those things, you're not necessarily being the supportive person as they are dealing through it. Does that make sense? Give me hearts. Show me something that you guys are like, this is making sense to you. What do you think? Yeah, thank you. So that's the difference between the two. When it comes to the secondary trauma, Amber, exactly, you freeze. We don't know what we're going to come into. When you think about, I hope this hasn't happened to anyone that's on the live today. And if it is, I hope that you're getting the support that you need. But when we think about all of the shootings that happen in our world, whether it's school shootings, whether it's at malls, whether it's in our communities, if you were there and you witnessed somebody being shot and somebody being killed, that is going to stick with you forever. Forever, it's going to stick with you. And you don't necessarily know until you have a flashback of it. And so that's another difference between secondary trauma and compassion fatigue, is that you have flashbacks, you have intrusive thoughts, you have anxiety and fear around that area. And it could be you now notice you avoid a certain area because it's going to trigger a flashback of a memory of something that has happened in the past. Where when it comes to compassion fatigue, you're not going to have that flashback. That's kind of the difference. Let's see. Let me look at my notes again to make sure that I'm telling you guys. Okay, so that is kind of what I wanted to mention. That let's see, tie-dye. Can what the government is doing be considered secondary trauma? I would say yes. And this is why I'm going to say yes, is because everything that is happening now when it comes to like the removal of DEI, when it comes to removal of equal opportunity things, that is very triggering for people who have been part of some systemic racism. And it affects us, right? So as a Black woman, all I can think about is, are these changes going to get me back to somebody feeling it's okay to treat me in an ill way? It definitely can affect. Definitely can affect it. And that is, me wanting to do this class on TikTok had a lot to do with what was happening in our world. And I needed to give back because there were so many things that were outside of my control. There was one thing that I knew that could be in my control, and that was to help my community, and now my expanded community on TikTok. I have these skills. I have this information. I know that systematically therapy is not available for everyone for many different reasons, whether you have insurance, whether you have, maybe you have insurance, but the copays are just way too much. Maybe you don't have transportation. Maybe you don't have access. While I cannot be a therapist for everyone in the world, I am giving therapeutic interventions for people in the world to be able to take what I can give as a gift to you so that you can take care of yourself. That is sometimes the most important piece for me, is making sure I can give you something to help you move forward. That is the part where I hope you guys know that this is authentic and very genuine for me, to make sure that, I want you guys to have these skills to take care of yourself. And this aligned perfectly. The world, what's happening in our world, I didn't anticipate when I put my first post that, people would be interested in this topic and want to learn more. I knew how I was feeling at that moment. I knew on that day what that was going to look like. And every day since, it just felt like an attack. And so I'm hoping you guys are using this information. And again, I said early on that you are going to do the work based on what you want to get out of this. I am presenting the information. By no means am I saying you have to do this stuff. This is, you're wasting your time. If you're not, you get to decide. You get to decide. Do I got any finger snaps out there? Anybody give me any of those? You got that? what it is up to you to be able to decide what you want to get out of this. I am going to continue this. I am planning what my next course is going to be after this one, because I do feel like this is an important way. Now, whether TikTok be here or not, I'm going to find other platforms to do it. I hope you guys continue to follow me and continue to join this. I just have to figure out what, what it looks like for me long term, but definitely want to continue to provide. So Tie-Dye, I think that was a kind of a great statement on, can what the government doing be considered secondary trauma? It is having you flash back to prior experiences where the things that they are doing are now affecting you. And that's an important piece. Thank you guys for all of the thanks and appreciation that you're giving me. I really do appreciate you all. Grace, yes. So the discourse community, Google Classroom. I'm working on the Google Classroom. Somebody had already mentioned that to me, but with me still trying to get well this week, I have not made it any further in getting that done, but I will be looking into these things, because this is all very important to make sure that we stay up on our mental health. But thank you for those. I wrote the other two down. Well, I knew discourse. The other one I hadn't heard of, but I'm gonna look that up and see if we can do this. This would be fantastic for Google Classroom. All right, so my goal is, so we're in week 3. This is week 3, so I would say by week 4, we were for sure, no, week 5, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself there. By week 5, I will have a Google Classroom up and going for this course. And then for sure, by the time I start my next course, I will have that, okay? All right, so let's get back to our slides so I can see what questions that you guys may have. So you may be thinking, why does secondary trauma matter? It affects your mental health, your emotional health, your physical well-being. I think I told you guys this already. I think all this stress in the world has got me sick. Not that it made me sick, but because I allowed some of the stress of what was happening after January 20th. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose. I was letting the stress of what happened after January 20th get to me, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I always hand sanitize afterwards. And it got me, right? Oh, thanks, Sunny. Oh, Sunny's my baby. One of my babies. Love her. Sunny. And so I let the stress get to me. And so, Tie-Dye, when you mentioned earlier, could this be secondary trauma? I'm feeling like it is, because I feel like everything that has happened over these last few weeks has been a lot for me to handle. And knowing that I am a federal employee, knowing that a lot of things that come up, that have come out, are going to affect potentially my job. Me trying to figure out how, as a licensed clinical social worker who has a very firm and defined code of ethics, that I now feel like the government is going to be impeding on my ability to truly function, to support active duty service members. That, I know that's how I got sick, y'all. I do. So the goal of my presentation was to really talk about the emotional impact of the secondary trauma, okay? So I want you to think about, I added on the PowerPoint that it's not just social workers, not just child welfare, not just therapists, first responders, moms, dads, sisters, brothers, partners, all of these things. Hi, Camille, thanks for joining. All of these things is what is makes secondary trauma so important for us to have to recognize it in ourselves, right? If you are, wouldn't that be considered firsthand? That's a good question, Music Auntie. When it's not, okay, let me step back. The secondary trauma piece of it is when you're exposed to somebody else's. Okay? So yes, there is a primary traumatic effect that can have when it's directly related to you. So if I was shot, that's me. That is my traumatic experience. If I witnessed somebody else being shot, that is the secondary traumatic part of it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So when I think about secondary trauma, when it comes to kind of some of the actions, so let's talk about, I mentioned earlier I'm a federal employee, and when it comes to hearing about agencies being shut down, Camille, that is spot on. We are witnessing secondary trauma daily. So when I hear about USAID and Department of Education and people losing their jobs, right? I'm a federal employee. That's not directly happening to me yet. But I do feel some secondary trauma and worry and anxiety about what if that's me? What if my department's next? These widespread orders, getting a memorandum from the new Secretary of Defense saying how there will be no celebrations of culture because that is what has divided us. The celebration of our cultures is what has made us as Americans. Oh, Stephanie, so you're feeling the same thing I'm feeling. Like they haven't come yet, but they was at the VA the other day, right? Like it is, I am feeling that stress, and I know that they're going to be looking at all areas. Do I have some fear that my position could change? I do. They have a hard time getting social workers at the VA and through the Department of Defense when it comes to the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force. It's hard. Could they potentially try to cut my pay? Maybe. Yep. Where I work, it may be an area where maybe I'm still going to be a clinical social worker, but they're going to want to put me in an area of practice that I don't want to practice in. Like substance abuse, not my thing. We have a lot of service members with substance abuse issues, and they lack providers in that area. Is that an area I want to be in? No. But is that a way they could potentially get me out? Yes. Let me go back and see some of your messages. Y'all have been just, sorry, I get on a soapbox and I have a hard time getting off my soapbox once I get on it. Okay, so we talked about that. Tie-dye, you mentioned you're worried about the future of your daughter. Yes. You know, I have an aunt who is more conservative than me. And, you know, she mentioned to me, well, I'm about now. And I was like, I don't vote based on the now. I vote based on the, what is this going to do for my community in the future? How is this going to affect my kids? I am not going to be around all the time, but my legacy that I am leaving in this world is with my kids. And if I am not voting to support to ensure that they have the rights that they need, that they have the community support, that there are laws that are in place that are going to protect them, even though I'm not going to be able to be here to know that, like it is going to, that is what I am doing. Yesterday, she called me She asked me, she said, is what the president doing affecting your job? I said, I don't know yet. I said, the one effect I do know is there's no more celebrating diversity within my workplace. The second thing I also know, no more working at home for me. So that throws off my work-life balance. Those are the things that are directly affecting me at this point. Will I have a job in the future? I don't know. We'll see. She had disappointment in her voice for me. But that wasn't a disappointment she had, or even an idea that she had 3 months ago. I'm telling you, we gotta pay attention to these things. So Grace, the Calm app is 10 minutes 2 times a day, and it's coming in handy. I am so glad that you're using that Calm app. Let's see, tie-dye. So absolutely, exactly. Your legacy. You bought a house. We buy things, we build things, even if it's community that we want to be able to carry on. Music Auntie, I have DACA too, so I worry about that. Yes. People safety rise. Yeah, exactly. And this is where the secondary trauma comes in, right? We may hear about things, we may see things, we may not have that a direct impact on us yet, but it definitely makes a difference for how we're affected, how our traumatic experiences are coming up, or the what if that is me? Tie-dye, that's it exactly right there. Generational wealth for your 1-year-old. My family has been talking about trying to buy a compound, right? Because we're like, we just need to all come together and live together in the same space. This world is definitely causing a lot of stress. One of my daughters, so I mentioned to you guys, we have rabbits and chickens in our backyard, and our rabbits are meat rabbits. We've never eaten rabbit. But with the prices of food, I might be eating rabbit. I might be getting meat chickens. My chickens now are layers. But I'm trying to figure out self-sufficiency because I'm not feeling confident and having to rely on other people. But this will be a skill that I'll be able to teach my household, myself, on how to take care of me, how to take care of them. But it definitely is something that we need to take care of. I've been thinking about a hydroponic system too. You know, I had a little what's the little one? The arrow garden. I had an arrow garden, and it was small, and then it just became too much for me, and I prefer to grow things outside. But now I'm like, I need to figure out how I'm gonna get that back. Because when I think about how much I enjoy fruits and vegetables, and if you're talking about mass deportation, and you're talking about who picks our produce? Migrant workers. So you have mass deportation, then we don't have migrant workers. They're gonna have to pay people more to pick our fruits and vegetables. And when they pay people more to do those things, then they're gonna charge the grocery stores more. And in order for the grocery stores to recoup their costs, what are they gonna do? They're gonna raise our prices. Raise our prices. I bet you the price of seeds is about to go up because more people are going to be going out to buy seeds to have gardens. I bet you that. I should go stock up on my seeds right now while I'm thinking about it. Like that is the part. FDA. Think about this. Some of the things that TK, I do a bartering system with people I know. We do some bartering. We do. And it works out well when it comes to things. But we may be getting back to that more and more. When we think about, hold on, I got to redo my live button here. All right. When we think about what do we have in our communities, who do we go to, who do we use, it can become overwhelming. It can be. Christy, I'm glad that you are thinking about growing. Going back to music, Auntie, the FDA and the viruses. I want you to think about all of these other positions that are being cut at the federal level. Checking the safety of our food, is that necessary? Some people are saying it's not. They're going to eliminate positions. Checking illnesses, potentially going to go away. It blows my mind to think about everything that is going on. Let's see. Okay, so Grace, you just came back from Hillman class of Garden 101. Yes, your own food. Exactly. Well, and this is one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about, because I know that some people will say, well, I don't have a community. I don't have to community organize for anything. One of the things that is a potential fantastic community organizing project is a community garden. Do you have a community garden in your area? When we think about what is going to happen with the food, what is going to happen with the cost of food, what does it look like to create a community garden? I'm thinking about going up to my elementary school that is not too far, about half a block from my house. They have lots of land yet, and I'm going to ask them, have they ever thought about doing a community garden? I can go to the school district with it and see if that is something that we are able to do. I do feel like it is necessary and needed for my community, because there's a couple things. We talked about this during one of my lives, how cheap it is to eat fast food. What's that doing to our bodies? It's putting hormones in our systems. It is causing a mutation of different things in our body than way back in the day when everything was pure and natural. Now, I like fast food, y'all. So I'm not saying that don't eat fast food, but I'm saying if that's the only thing that you can afford, then that's a difference. That is something that is should be on the forefront of your head. I see, Camille, you want to get your family together to buy one piece of land. I love that idea. That is what we are working on right now. The base won't allow. Stay curious. What do you mean the base won't allow a community garden? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, musical auntie, I will say that sometimes zoning could be an issue. However, it goes to the size of the garden. Because with gardening and doing the who went to the, let me go back. So Grace, I don't know if zoning came up in community gardening in the Hillman gardening class, but I would say that a small plot of land on a school land would not necessarily be a licensing issue or zoning issue. It actually could be an educational lesson for the whole school, right? Teaching our kids how things grow, teaching our kids how things are planted. And so I imagine there are ways around it, and I'm always looking for ways around it. Oh, Stephanie, thank you for that rose. Tie-dye. So I want you to think about this. Like, a lot of people, remember, a lot of people were saying that when I started this class, well, I don't community organize. I'm not necessarily talking about politics. I'm talking about your community. What do you do in your community? How do you give back? Okay, so tie-dye, listen, you said you went to a restaurant this weekend. Oh, got food poisoning. Yep. Literally saving for 4 acres of land now. Oh, I love that, Grace. So she's speaking on zoning. So what did she say about zoning? And is that in all states or the particular state that she is in? So liability and regulation issues. You're going to talk to the airman's attic. Okay. So I am near Fort Carson and Schriever and the Air Force Academy, and those are the, and Peterson. Those are the military installations that are near me. I am going to ask somebody at Fort Carson, that's where I do most of my work, about do they have a community garden and what does that look like? It may be something that our housing office could be doing. So I would maybe start with your housing office to see if that's something maybe they've already started with. I'm going back and looking at these notes or your comments. Yes, you just reminded me. What did I just remind you? A mentor at a high school. Yes. I feel like that's a great thing to allow high schoolers to give back to an elementary school. There's a buying land one-on-one class. Oh, Grace, thanks for putting that out there. There is a buying 101 land class in the Hillman Talk. I'll look it up. Okay, good. I'm thinking about moving out of state because I have DACA and I'm tired. Yeah, and we shouldn't be tired, right? No, she has only mentioned overview for personal use. Next class. So let me tell you about how one of our community gardens works here. Because and that's the way they get around the personal use versus a community garden. So what it is there is at one of our elementary schools in one of the school districts here, they have a area of the land that is used as a community garden. Now, you get your personal area of the community garden. And that just gives you the space to be able to go to grow. And that supports people who live in apartments, who don't do apartment gardening. And so it is individual. So it's not you have a huge community garden and you then, I lost my train of thought. You then are now working the land together. That's not what I meant when I said a community garden. It is giving people access to the land, potentially the education. We have through most extension branches, through whatever your farm grant university is in your state, they typically have a master gardening program, and they also work with people to ensure that you can have that help. So that is kind of what I was mentioning. So like little plots for personal. So within one of our communities, I want to say they have like 35 small little plots of land. And when I say a small little plot, you're probably growing maybe 5 or 6 different things in that area. So maybe some peppers, some tomatoes, some onions, whatever. But you're growing whatever you want in that area, in that designated area, just for yourself. Oh, thanks, Vonnie, for that rose. Love it. And you're working that. Now, you have this community garden, then knowing that when you are going there, that your stuff is safe. But could people take it? They probably could. But it definitely is, I think, a great way to be able to support people and give them the education. Love it. Thank you for that finger snap. Love it. I got 3 more that I'm trying to get before I end this live, you guys. Help me reach my goals. One of the things I feel like has happened, thank you. One of the things that is happened over the course of time is we have gotten away. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, Sonny, you're so sweet. Love. One of the things that's happened is we have gotten away, and this is just technology in life. We have gotten away with growing our own food. We have gotten away with teaching our kids that we can eat from the land, right? That we can eat from our garden. Some kids still don't know that you can eat flowers. You can eat roses. Roses are edible. Marigolds, edible. Those things are edible, but we have gotten away from that, and I think it's really important that we figure out how we get back to that, and all of this is kind of part of our wellness. When we get stuck in the world of what's everybody else doing and how am I going to do this and how am I going to do this better, it makes it really hard to be able to stop comparing ourselves to other people. And I want you guys to kind of be mindful of that, okay? So let me talk a little bit more about our slide. So let's talk about the difference between empathy and emotional drainage, okay? So empathy, I mentioned in the PowerPoint that is where you are putting yourself in somebody else's shoes to try to understand their experience. You may have already been in their shoes at one point. That's different. When we have been in those shoes before, we then are going off the lens of our experience, and you need to make sure you're putting your feet in the shoes of the other person based on their experience, okay? That's an important difference. Now, having that emotional draining piece is not only high FDT, thanks for joining. When it comes to the emotional draining piece is when we're being mindful of our self-preservation. I can give my energy and my effort so much to someone, but if I am tapping out and I am not able to preserve my energy, we've gone too far. We're no longer in a self-preservation mode. We are now dry. Let me see, my cup ain't dry yet. I was going to say dry and like my cup. But when it happens is we then get stuck. We then get into a negative headspace. We then start having negative thoughts. And I'm going to encourage you guys to challenge negative thoughts. So one of the things that I posted after posting the lecture that I want to talk with you guys about is the handout that talks about reframing negative thoughts for a healthier mindset. Oh, Camille, yeah. I need to help you remove yourself from that emotional drainage. You need to do things for self-care. And that's a buzzword. We talk about how that's a buzzword and what does that look like. What self-care looks like for you is different than what it looks like for me. I give out lots of suggestions on what you can try, but make it work for you. Okay? One of the things that I want you to do is if you feel like you are on this emotional drainage, I want you to go back and look at this handout that's on the refraining negative thoughts for healthier mindsets, okay? And this is when you're having some depression, you're feeling low self-esteem, you're feeling anxious, and it stems from irrational negative thoughts, alrighty? And so I just give a little example on there. So for example, a person who's consistently receiving positive feedback at work might still feel incompetent because of a single criticism. Okay? And that is an irrational thought. If you have all of this positive feedback from someone, but you get stuck on that one thought. And that is what drives all of your energy, your actions, your thought pattern, okay? So I provided some questions to be able to help you evaluate your thoughts. So the first thing, I'm gonna get to your question in a second, tie-dye. So the first thing is there strong evidence to support this thought? Is what I'm thinking making sense? What evidence allows me to believe that this is a true thought or should be a true thought? Is there evidence that contradicts my thoughts? Okay. Because we should be looking at what evidence support it, what evidence doesn't support it. This is how we're going to change our thinking, okay? Am I interpreting this situation without all the facts? Do I have all the information? Oh, I'm so glad God brought you here today, Camille. Yes. Do I have all of the information to support these thoughts? If I don't, then I'm going down a rabbit hole that I shouldn't be going down. How would a friend view this situation? And I want you to think about your most positive friend, not your negative Nancy. Yep, we think about our negative Nancys when we want allies. Oh, they're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. No, we're not doing that. Hi, Jai. I hope I said that right. If I view this situation in a positive light, how does it change? How does it change? And will this still be important a year from now? Will this be important in 5 years from now? These are the questions I want you to ask yourself when you have an overly obsessive negative thought that could be stemmed from either compassion fatigue or secondary trauma. Okay? Alrighty. What happens when we don't take care of ourselves when it comes to compassion fatigue and secondary trauma? What do y'all think happens? What do you think happens? What do you think? We get sick. Grace, that's why I got this cold. I ain't take care of myself. I'm not taking care of myself. We burn out. No motivation to do anything. Lupus chick, that is it right there. You have flare-ups. Your body is telling you when you need to shut down. Antoinette, yes, your body shuts down. Camille, no motivation. Musical Auntie, we're so drained, we lost track of ourselves. Exactly. You should be putting yourself as your primary person. Stress affects your immune system. JDM Creations. That's why I got this sinus infection. Everything over the last 2 weeks, I'm telling you, after week 1, it kicked in and got me good. My body was weak. It was vulnerable. I let these germs in because I wasn't taking the proper care of myself and my immune system was weak. Well, and here's the crazy thing. I'm on some prednisone right now, and I don't think the prednisone is necessarily working. I just finished it up. We'll see. I mean, I guess it's working a little bit, but it's not working like I'm used to it working. Let's see. We come out being burnt out. IBS, yes. Spiritual drainage, emotional drainage. Is IBS linked to anxiety? IBS is a somatic symptom to many types of mental health. So when we talked about, oh, thanks Stephanie for joining the team. When we talk about having, so if you don't know what IBS is, that's like your stomach issues, right? A response to your gut because of it. Okay? When we have inflammation, and it's always what comes first, the chicken or the egg. When we have inflammation, and it's always what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Did the IBS come because of the anxiety or the depression? Or did the depression and the anxiety come because of the IBS? If we are not focusing on our well-being, yes. If we are not focusing on our well-being and ourselves, we can have disruptions with our gastro system, which is a somatic system to maybe mental health. A lot of people, when I meet with people, I can talk about, I feel like I've gotten away as a social worker of talking about traditional symptoms of depression, of anxiety. I am now looking at the somatic symptoms. Tell me about your sleep. Tell me about your eating. Tell me about your day-to-day activity. Tell me about what you find pleasure in. Because when I can dig into those things more, I can then look at, if you tell me, I feel like I have IBS, I went to the doctor, they've treated me, nothing seems to be working. We're going to talk about how the stress in your life is potentially affecting the continued support of that IBF. Stress will do it. So I thank you for bringing that question up, JDM Creations. Stress, and I don't want to say that stress is a bad thing, because sometimes we need stress to function. But it's us managing how much of stress we want, how much of the stress we need, how much of the stress we're able to handle, and what boundaries are we going to put in place. Okay. Okay, let me go back and look at prednisone is a friend and a foe. Oh, thank you, Stephanie, for that heart. So Grace, you have, yes, IBS, lots of worry, anxiety, stress, have learned to be present and practice breathing. There are things that you can do that are in your control. There are things that are not within your control, okay? Things that are, I can't necessarily stop the worrying, but I can control how I respond to the worrying. So I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to do some deep breathing. Is that resonating with people when I say that? I'm not going to necessarily stop the worrying, the anxiety, or the stress, but I am going to understand how I respond better to address those things. They're not going to necessarily go away completely. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right, let me see. Amber, I like YouTube frequencies. Okay, yep. Camille, you're saying I literally had to tell my family at times to please shut the TV off. Yes, my husband will say things to me, like if something comes on my new feed, he'll be like, "You're listening to that garbage again?" I'm like, "I'm not listening to it. It just came on my news feed," and then I will move it on. But it does become a lot. And I think I told you guys that I had to do kind of a news detox over this week when I wasn't feeling well. And I feel like that was part of maybe, okay, the medication's probably working. 2, I've been hydrating more. 3, I've been trying to eat more proteins. 4, I've been choosing what comes into my environment and space and what does not, and choosing not to have that social media piece of the negative Nancy's, or I'm so tired of hearing about executive documents being signed and what's going to come next. I took a couple days off of that. I got a recap of it after the couple days, but I felt like in such a better place in doing that. And so yes, Tide, I'm glad this all makes sense to you. Let's see, what else are you guys saying? The movie Inside Out 2 did a good job showing how anxiety can be harmful if unchecked. Now, I was anxiety for Halloween, because even in October, going into this election, it resonated with me so much from what came from that movie, and how if anxiety is not checked up on, managed, how you could get out of control. So yes, Gracie, water. I'm always like, did I drink enough water today? Where is my water? And this is what I always want you to think about when you're hydrating and have hydration as a goal for you. Not only should you be hydrating, but everything you drink is not hydration. I need you to remember that. There are certain things that you drink that is dehydrating. Coffee it dehydrates you. So if you have 8 ounces of coffee, you better double that up to make sure you're having 8 additional ounces of water, because that is what is actually hydrating you. Oh, Camille, I'm dropping the gems. That's right. People don't know that, like, oh, I drank all this water. I drank all this liquid. No, some things dehydrate you. Liquor dehydrates you. Things with caffeine dehydrate you. There is one caffeine piece that I won't give away or won't stop using because it has just a little bit of caffeine, but I love green tea. There's a small amount, but I am very mindful of how much I have of that as a day. If I am drinking tea, I will go to an herbal tea first before I will go to a green tea, because I know the caffeine that's in there. Okay, so I need you guys to be mindful of what you're drinking. When you are looking at fruits and vegetables, that is also hydration. So I don't want you to think, oh, well, because I didn't get it in the form of a liquid, I didn't get it. Get your watermelon. Sometimes when I have had enough water, I will get my hydration through fruit, grapes, strawberries, melons. All of those things have high levels of liquid in them. Okay? So I need you to just be mindful of that. So the hydration, water is great. Thank you for that, Rose Camille. Water is great. That should be your go-to, but I want you to think outside of the box, because we can get tired of water. One of my other go-tos that is the hydration tool for me are sugar-free popsicles. Sugar-free popsicles, thanks for sharing the live. Sugar-free popsicles, that is one of my go-tos for hydration. And it feels like a nice little treat for me. All right, so let me see. Let me keep going. Let me look at your messages. Okay, so let me go back to see what else from the slides today that I wanted to be able to mention. Okay, so I want to talk about kind of the signs for secondary trauma. Thank you for that gift, Camille. So when it comes to recognizing the signs of secondary trauma, remember we always talk about there being different areas. So whether it's cognitive, emotional, behavior, or physical. Okay, so when you have cognitive signs of secondary trauma, you're going to have those intrusive thoughts. Everything is going to seem negative. There's going to be things that are coming. You're like, why am I thinking about this? Why is this even on my mind? What made this come up? Hi, Andre. Thanks for joining. The other thing is difficulty focusing. If I am all over the place and I'm really trying to focus on one particular thing, I need to figure out what is happening. What is happening with my thought pattern where I am not able to figure out next steps to accomplish my project? So would my fear of abandonment be secondary? Amber, I think it depends on what the root of your abandonment is. If it's parental alienation and abandonment from your childhood, if it's a lot of breakups in your relationships, if it's not feeling involved and including in your community, in your natural circle. Hi, Alyssa, thanks for joining. Your natural support group. I feel like it could be all of that. But or it becomes secondary, because it could just be primary. Where it would be secondary is if you're witnessing this with other people and this is making you flash back to your own experiences. Okay? Emotional symptoms of secondary trauma. Amber, okay. You'll keep working on it. Okay, you got it? Okay. I do feel like there are things that we forget about until we're triggered based on somebody else's experience or exposure from somebody else's story. So what you may need to do is to look at what is happening within your world, your situation, within your area, and how that's triggering you. Okay? Okay, so let's see. FYI, edible wild plants and flowers of North America, Hillman class. Amy 773 teaches this. Oh, well, thanks for that. Mentioned because we were speaking on this earlier and you used it to help a nose script. Okay. The state of the world right now. All right, so let's talk about emotional symptoms of secondary trauma. I feel guilty. I feel angry. I feel numb. Guilt, anger, and numbness stems from the lack of control. Does that resonate with anyone? Guilt, anger, and numbness stemming from the lack of control. Yes. Yes. Stems from a lack of control. And it can be hard when we lose control of things because that is what we want. That is what we thrive for in our lives is control. Okay? And when we have heard somebody else's story, we have witnessed someone else's situation, we don't have any control over that. One, because it's not us. Camille, it does because I feel like I should be able to do more. Exactly. But you can't. And that is where secondary trauma kicks in. We have lost control to be able to do anything because it's not us. Okay? Behavioral signs, avoidance, increased resilience on unhealthy coping mechanisms. That could be drugs. That could be alcohol. That could be porn. That could be gambling. That could be food. All of those things could be signs. There used to be a time where, I still have these times, but I'm more self-aware of it now, I guess. There used to be times where when I was stressed, what do you think I did? I stress ate. And you know how I knew I stress ate? Because I would go to my go-tos that I knew were horrible. I love me some Freddy French fries. I don't know if anybody has had Freddy French fries, but I love me some Freddy French fries. If I'm getting me some Freddy French fries, I'm like, what's going on? What am I stress eating away? I need to acknowledge it. I need to honor it. I need to own it. And I need to repair it. Like that's my new thought pattern right there. Honor it, own it, repair it. That is my first indicator. So when it comes to, I'm gonna put them in order and then I want you guys to rank them for you. So then the last one, physical, chronic fatigue, muscle tension, and insomnia. Those are the physical. Oh, H-Wall, you consume a lot of coffee. Honor it, own it, repair it. That's right, Camille. I'm gonna make a flyer for that. right? Because you have to. So when it comes to recognizing the signs of secondary trauma, cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally, and physically, if I had to rate it for myself, where I know I fall in these areas, behavioral is my go-to. Physical is my secondary. Emotional, and then cognitive. I am going to make a flyer grace for that one. Honor, own, and repair. Dr. Shirley Rudd said it. Those are my words. Pass that on. Honor it, own it, repair it. That is what we do. That is what we are doing. Okay? It's almost like your body is sending you warning signs for you to focus or refocus on yourself. That is exactly what your body is doing. And so I need you to understand that. So when you guys think of these cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally, and physically, in the chat, tell me what areas, how they show up for you. Which one shows up first? Trademark, woohoo, Grace, yes. Honor, own, repair. What shows up for you first? Does cognitive show up for you first? Does emotional show up for you first? Does behavioral, physical? Which ones? Tell me, guys. Tell me what shows up for you. Camille, yours is physical, okay? Tie-dye, was yours physical, or what was Grace, physical and emotional, okay? Lupus, emotional. H-Wall, physical. Oh, you got a tie, okay. Hi, Samantha Ray, thanks for joining. JDM, physical. Okay, Milsey, I noticed the physical first because you feel exhausted, okay. Recognizing the signs in your body is an important piece. Amber says emotional. I reach out for someone to soothe my aches and I get more abandoned because it's my job. Ooh, that's an interesting dynamic. Tie-dye, I have seizures due to stress and it takes my body out. That is your body protecting. I know seizures suck. That is your body protecting you. And that is the part of self-awareness to figure out, what can I do before? Some seizures are predictable. Sometimes you have signs in your body that you're feeling something, but you may not know what it is until it's too late. Hi, Benzo. Thanks for joining. This is where you're going to want to recognize those signs. Yeah, yes, Grace, it is in order to truly know yourself, you have to recognize your signs of what your body is telling you and when it's telling you. I feel like a frog is in my throat, can't swallow. I need you guys, when you are doing this wellness mapping, oh, that's what you feel like before your seizure? So your body is telling you something. So you have a frog in your throat and you can't swallow. Okay, you know that one. Now what I need you to do is be more conscious of what happens before the frog in your throat. Because there's one that's before that. There is. And you may not have been able to recognize it yet. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for joining. Right? We figure one step, then we go back and we're like, okay, what happened before that? Then we figure the next one, what happened before that? Okay, what happened before that? Okay? These are the things that I need you guys to do. Yeah, tie-dye. That is it. There is always something that's before. The one thing that you are going to learn from me and get from me is figuring out how to become self-aware of your body. Your body is the key to everything because it protects. It's meant to protect. That is why when we are in traumatic events, we fight, we flight, or we freeze. All of those are components of your body. Thanks for the follow. Akosu, is that how you say that? Akosu Shirley, thank you for that. So I want to make sure that you guys, you're understanding this. So when you're doing your mindful mapping, you need to look at cognitive, emotional, behavioral, and physical symptoms of secondary trauma and how they might show up here. So tie-dye, what did you say? You wrote poetry to emotional regulate yourself. I think that is beautiful to be able to do poetry. It releases the words out of your body. It does. Okay, so let me see what else from my slides. I'm doing extra today. I'm feeling so good with this discussion. You guys can probably tell I'm feeling better. So let's talk about how we manage the exposure to traumatic stories. Whether somebody is sharing it with us directly, whether we're witnessing something, whether we're hearing it on the news, this is what you need to do. You need to limit your activities when possible. So we already talked about kind of having time away from social media, time away from things that are going to drain your energy, time away from things that are not making you happy. That's where you're going to set boundaries for those things. Okay? If traumatic experiences are part of your job, like they are part of my job, I have to go, 40 hours a week and I'm dealing with traumatic injury of others. I then allot for a specific amount of time that I'm going to work on a particular case. I build my day where I am not hearing traumatic story over and over, back to back. That's very similar to one another. I have that luxury of doing that. When I see my clients in the evening, I even will build them based on what my day is going to look like or what my week might look like, okay? Because it's hard to hear other people's stories. So you need to strategize that and how you're going to control, right? I talked about control. I talked about we're the only ones that control ourselves. I'm going to control what I think about and what I work on. Okay? So I need you to hi Robbie, thanks for joining. Think about that. So let's talk a little bit about reflective practice, okay? So I don't know if how many people have heard of reflective practice. Reflective practice is one of the things that I find as the staple of kind of my practice. When I was doing my doctoral program, I actually did my dissertation around reflective practice with child welfare caseworkers and how that influenced their self-awareness, how that influenced their critical thinking, and how that influenced their overall reflection. And when it came to those things, ultimately it was to look at how did that affect their decision making? How did that affect their work? And I came to learn that it affects all of it. And so I want you to, now translating that information from my research over to how that affects you guys is something that I want you to be mindful of, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about reflective practice if you've not heard it before. So it's the process of critically thinking your own thoughts, your experiences, and your actions to gain a better insight to improve your decision making and your professional and personal effectiveness. Okay? So I want you to be mindful of that, and then I'm gonna create a flyer on this so that you guys are tracking this so that you have this information. I'm a very visual person, and so talking to you guys about these things is helpful, but I also know that with me being visual, I also need to see it, which is why I'm always like, I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna make a flyer for that for you guys so that you have it, okay? So when it comes to the core elements of reflective practice, and this is a whole lesson on itself. So I'm just doing a very highlighted overview of this, and we'll be able to maybe I know in the next class we're going to be talking about self-reflection a lot, or reflective practice, and so that's probably going to be the core of it. But I want you to know self-awareness is recognizing your biases, your emotions, and your reactions. Understanding how your experiences shape your interactions with people, right? So everything we're hearing on the news, I am using all my experiences to shape how I'm receiving that information and how I'm interacting with others, okay? The critical thinking aspect of it is analyzing situations from multiple perspectives. I can sit here and say, this is the only lens I'm going to look through this on, and this is how I'm going to interpret this. But I knew I would not be critically thinking if I would be doing that. Okay. And so I have to be able to find a way to put the information out there from different lenses. I'm like, okay, well, let me play devil's advocate. Let me look on this side of it and let me see how that plays out. Okay. Oh, that's so sweet of you, Grace, for sharing that with tie-dye. And then critical thinking is also evaluating past actions and decisions to improve what you're going to do in the future. Okay. The other thing that comes with emotional or with reflective practice is emotional regulation. How many of us struggle with sometimes regulating our emotions? Me. Sometimes my raw emotions can fly off. Sometimes they can fly off. Hi, Cat Lover 2. Thanks for joining. We have to be mindful of emotional regulation. And what emotional regulation is managing your stress and your emotional triggers to remain professionalism. Whether that's with your friends, whether that's with your family, you want to own your responses to things. And when it comes to those professional relationships, your personal relationships, that is when you are looking at, am I being petty? Is my petty coming out? Hi, Katie136. Thanks for joining. We're talking about reflective practice. And am I being petty? Sometimes we can be so petty. I call them love daggers when they're people that I love. And I am, right? Right, Amber? I can throw fantastic love daggers. Because, you see, Katie's my sister. With love daggers, that is when I know I'm throwing something, I'm being petty, and I'm trying to make the other person hurt the way that they're making me hurt. Yep. Camille, that's another Dr. Rudd right there. My love daggers. I tell my clients all the time about love daggers. Because you truly do love the other people. But you're being petty. They're meant to be thrown. They're meant to cause pain. Yep. The other thing with emotional let's see, what are you saying, Camille? I am, and I know it. Yep. The other thing that it comes with emotional regulation is the moment that we begin to, thank you, Katie. Thank you, love the rose. Thanks for helping me meet my goal. When it comes to emotional regulation, that is actually what's going to help us prevent burnout. I'm learning to breathe before speaking. Camille, yes. There are some times when I'm in really difficult conversations, and when I know I'm going to be in one, I always have a drink. So when I need a break, I put a natural pause in. And I drink real slow. That is giving me some space between saying what I want to say versus what I really should say. Hi, Miss Shay. Thanks for joining. Hi, Soledad. Thanks for joining. So when it comes to preventing burnout, we really do that through that self-care and those mindfulness activities. Oh, I'm so glad that you love that. I will always have a drink. I have a drink with me everywhere. If for some reason I don't have a drink, my second go-to is some chapstick. I'll pull it out. I can't say nothing if I'm putting chapstick on. Can't say nothing. That's my second thing. I will have one of those two things with me at all times. Okay? Let's talk about what reflection looks like. So there's a couple theories out there when it comes to how we reflect. You respect that? That's awesome. Yeah. You gotta have those things work for me really well. Let's talk about the kind of different thoughts behind reflection. There's reflection in action and there's reflection on action. Okay? So reflection in action is thinking and adjusting in real time during the situation. So I'm going to adjust my actions right now. I'm thinking about it and this person is triggering me. And the only thing I can do is say, I'm not in a good place to have this conversation right now. And so I think we should take a break and we can come back to this at a later time. Hey, TG, thanks for joining. That is in the moment. I am controlling me in the moment. And that is reflection in the moment. I know me. Okay. Reflection on action would be me going and talking to a trusted person saying, you know, I need to talk to somebody about a situation earlier. So I'm going back and I'm talking to somebody about something that's already happened. And maybe I know I didn't do what I wanted to do or should have done at that moment. And now I am making changes and I want their feedback to help me make changes. Okay. That's the difference between reflection in action and reflection on action. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on kind of me talking about reflective practice and what that looks like? Give me some signs or something. Okay. Thanks for all the hearts. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for liking. Okay. Not a question, just a statement. Let me hear it, Camille. What's your statement? Reflective practice is what that's named. Yes. I need to find a person. Okay. So when you're thinking about a person who you're going to reflect with afterwards, your people, okay. Okay, so Camille, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go in then honest with those people and say, I know you always tend to agree with my thoughts and kind of how I have done things, but I really do want to have you to challenge and give me some other opinions if you have some other ideas. You appreciate the support, right? you have that conversation with them and they know that you want a little bit more and you're okay with hearing the hard talk. So that's what I want you to focus on when it comes to these things, okay? Some other things that you can do when it comes to doing reflection on action, so afterwards, because right now I'm not in the right all the time. I would tell them that. I would. I feel like that allows you to be vulnerable. That allows you to truly open up to be able to say, that you need some support. Yeah. Stay curious. Let's see. Does reflective practice help us identify where secondary trauma is coming from? It could. And the reason that it could is because you would be diving into historical events, recent events, how those things are connected to your experiences, and it would help you label emotions and feelings with those experiences. So yes, how to take reflective reasoning as a stay-at-home parenting. So tie-dye, I would say with reflective practice when it comes as a stay-at-home parent, there are different strategies that you can do. So we talked about, I feel like everybody has a comment on how I raise my daughter. And everybody will. But let me say this, tie-dye. Just because everybody has a comment, is that comment valid? Is that comment true? Is that comment something you should take for what it's worth? I need you to, hi EM Garcia, I need you to go back to when people are making comments about how you're raising your daughter and you're having negative thoughts associated with that, I need you to go back to that negative thought, those thoughts questions. Because what you're doing is you're giving them your energy if you're holding on to it. Okay? But when it comes to you having a reflective practice about how those statements make you feel, I want you to do some journaling on it. I think writing about the experiences, the challenges in hearing the words, if there's any truth to any of those words, acknowledging that as well. And the emotions that come from hearing it if it's true. As a parent myself, we do the best that we can every single day. Can I look back 20 years ago and say, man, I wish I would have done something different? Yeah. I've learned so much about myself that I definitely parented my last child differently than I parent my first child. And Sunny will tell you that. I grew up with Sunny. I had her at 20 years old. She taught me how to be a mom. We grew up together. I didn't know anything. And having my last baby at 30, I knew so much more in 10 years. All right, Benson, what did you say? I treat it like a phone call with my negative thoughts, so I'm either going to pick it up or decline it. I love that idea. Let's see. Oh, Camille. Okay, you needed to hear that because you had your daughter at 20? Yeah, we didn't know nothing, Camille. Nothing. I would parent so different today if I had my first baby. Today. At 51. Than I did at 20. Like, it is... Would I go back and change it? No. Nope, that was meant to be. That was meant for me, that to happen. I was meant to have the life that I was supposed to have. I was meant to have the hard times. I was meant to have those good times. I was meant to have my 4 babies in 10 years. That was all meant to be. That, so I am glad that, this, we are a community. Normalizing our experiences is what we should do. Did my mom want me to have a baby at 20? No. Nope. Nope. I did it. It's okay. Okay. So, other things that you can do for reflective practice. Meditation is a reflective practice activity. So, do you remember when we did the guided meditation? That is something that you can do as well. I am going to do another guided meditation, but this one I'm going to have you do, it's going to be more thought-provoking for you to think about stressful things that are happening within your life. HW, let me see, what did you say? You've done reflective practice professionally and it was used against me. Okay, thank you for bringing that up because I want to mention this. When it comes to reflective practice, you have to have another person trusted on the other side. I have not always been able to have true reflective practice in a supervision setting because it's not been safe. Okay? So professionally, you need to find someone who is trusted. And that may not be your supervisor. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind. Grace, you're just getting them all. Safety and trust in a space. That is it. I have a hard time trusting to begin with. And if I don't have a supervisor that I feel like I can say things to, that will allow me to truly have reflective practice, that's not a good fit for me. I may not be able to change that, but then I know I'm going to have to go someplace else for that. Okay? It was outside person, but coworker did that. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. One of the so I mentioned I'm gonna do I'll do another live. I'm gonna not another live. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do another meditation, a guided meditation, but this is going to be more of thought provoking to kind of have you process something in your day. I'm going to post that as a video so that you guys have that to practice. That would be something great self-care for you to do. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to mention, hold on, let me look at my notes. I think that was, so those are the two things. We did all of that. We talked about journaling. I'm going to put a journal topic up as well. Just a handout for you guys to be able to journal on, and it's going to have guided questions for you. I sometimes feel like, people say, oh, you should journal, and you're like, well, I get a book and I don't even know what to put in it. And I feel like that is sometimes hard, so I love to give journal prompts. Just so you guys know, my goal today is to get over 20,000 hearts. If you can keep the hearts coming, get me over the 20,000 before we end today. I greatly appreciate that. So keep them coming. The other thing that I wanted to be able to mention is, oh, you guys, thank you so much. I love it. I really wanted to get over 20 today. Let me go back to my slides, see if there was anything else in there. The other thing, oh, you guys are getting me there. Journaling is hard for you, tie-dye. Tell me more. Is it because you don't know what to write? Is it because you don't know kind of where your thoughts are? Do you feel like guided questions would help you with journaling? Tell me more. Hi, John. Thanks for joining. Oh, Camille, I'm so glad this is healing for you. You gotta go. For sure, my next live will be next Sunday, but I may schedule a live on Wednesday evening. Okay. I'm so glad that you came, Camille. Make sure you you go through, if you haven't seen all the posts on the class, be working on your mindful mapping yeah, share my content, okay? Tie-dye, so your thoughts are mush and they're negative, and that's why poetry works better. Miss Shay, okay, so guided questions. I'm going to put some guided questions out there. You relate to this. Oh, you guys got me over 20. Yay, thank you. I can easily turn negative to positive. Same. So Grace, it's always going to be on at noon Mountain Time, which is 2:00 Eastern Time. So yes, I'm always going to come on live noon on the Sunday, and I post the slides for the presentation earlier, so you guys get a chance to look for that. Okay. So well, it's been great chatting with you guys today, with the poetry. Okay. Well, and this is what I may think for you, tie-dye, that you journal, you get all your negative thoughts out, and you take that information and turn it into positive poetry. What do you think about that? You're welcome, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you for joining. What do you think about that, tie-dye? Taking your negative thoughts. You're going to go work on your homework. Good. Thank you, Shay. Grace, thank you so much. Oh, I'm so glad this was healing and refreshing and fun. Yay. So, tie-dye, I think that that's something I'm going to want you to try. I think that would be very beneficial. And I'm going to give you these prompts. So with these prompts, it will just be some questions to be able to start a journaling activity. And then what will happen is you can then use that to turn, if it comes out negative, turn that into a positive, okay? All right, well, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to get my next one scheduled for next Sunday. There'll be lots of posts that are going to come out over this week. I'm going to have a live on Wednesday as well to touch base with you guys, because we still will have activities this coming week. I don't have the syllabus up on what our activities are, but be looking forward to them, okay? All right, I'll see you guys on the next live, and make sure you follow me. Make sure you share my posts. Make sure you invite your friends and family to the lives, and I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye.